Welcome to the Businesses Start Here podcast, hosted by David Vigliotti and Vigliotti and Associates. We're here to talk with business owners and business experts to inspire and encourage entrepreneurs.
Hello, welcome to another episode of the Businesses Start Here podcast. I'm your host, Dave Vigliotti, founder of Vigliotti and Associates. And today's episode, we have Chaz Jannuzi with us. He's the founder of Match One Medical, doing some really great things, helping people avoid pain medicine by some of the product that they sell and have physicians prescribe to their patients. So Chaz, thanks for being here today. Excited to have you and get to learn more about you and your business.
Yeah, thanks Dave. I'm happy to be here. I love talking to Western Pennsylvania business owners as well. So I think we have a lot of cool ground to cover.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's get right into it. How did you start your business and what was the impetus for that?
Yeah, so 2014, as the business was founded, October 2014, my business partner and I, we were not high school acquaintances. He lives in Detroit, I live in Pittsburgh. We were co-workers as adults, and within a 1 or 2 week period in October 2014, we both lost high school football teammates to overdose from opioid and suicide by opioid. Both were introduced to opioids as kids. My good friend, he got hurt playing football and introduced to opioids, and it led to a life of addiction.
Wow.
And sadly, he lost that battle in 2014. My partner Joe and I, commiserating about the situation at the same time, we both were in medical device sales at that point. We were selling into pain management offices, and we saw for many years, before it was called the opioid crisis, that pills were the solution to most problems at that point. The OxyContin invention in 1996 created a whole industry of take your pills and stay ahead of the pain.
Yeah.
That concept took away a lot of traditional healing methods from doctors, and they were persuaded to just use pills as the solution.
And it was originally billed as non-addictive, right? That's what they said.
It was originally billed as end-of-life palliative care for cancer-based patients who are in hospice.
Wow.
Within a 6-month period, it then became billed as a less addictive opioid than the fast-acting, and they spawned a whole industry. There's a bunch of movies coming out about the concept. HBO did a documentary over the summer called The Crime of the Century, 2-part docuseries about, the first half was about the OxyContin, the OxyContin Express, the whole marketing behind the drug, and the ignoring the death trail that followed. And the second part was an addictive sublingual spray called Subsys, which was a fentanyl-based end-of-life care situation that immediately turned into, let's use it for a lot of different things. So the use of opioids was for 30 years considered to be best first line of treatment. And Joe and I lost friends at the same time, and we were dealing with pain management doctors, me in Western Pennsylvania and Joe in Detroit, and we thought, hey, we know some doctors, maybe we can do something about this. Let's start a little side gig, right? Mm-hmm. Let's be the guys that help doctors find alternative ideas. So we went to some manufacturers, we bought some equipment, we put it in our trunk. As we were doing our regular day-to-day job, at that point we would say, hey, while you're thinking about it, do you have any patients that might want to get off opioids? We've got a wearable device for their back or their knee or their shoulder. And it was 2016 when the presidential election comes around. So we started the business in 2014. It was just the two of us working our other jobs. Right. And in 2016, it became, it was like the sum of all things at one point. President Trump and Hillary Clinton were both campaigning about the opioid epidemic. Right. And how they were gonna solve it. So it became a coined phrase. And at the same time, Medicare, which is national, and Pennsylvania state Medicaid, they lowered their morphine equivalents right at the same time that all this was happening. Mm-hmm. And so the government legislated less pills. Not no pills, less pills. Right. And people that opioids work like this, tomorrow you have to take more than you took today for it to work the same. And so inevitably it builds up until you reach the mandated max, and then they really have to intervene in some different way. Well, they took the mandated max from here to here, right? And people that are 10 years in this phase, went insane.
Yeah.
And we started to get calls back from pain management doctors. Can you fill this void with your products? Sure, we'll try. And so where we really started was helping pain management patients take less pills. And our real passion was to get into the orthopedic world to help keep people that have never taken pills, what we call opioid naive. 5.6% of people that are introduced to opioids for the first time will become addicted or dependent within the first 5 days. You don't know that you are one of those people until you're past the 5th day, right? And you start to get the shakes and the sweats, and you don't know why it feels like you have the flu whenever you try to take less of those, and then you stumble upon the solution to that. Let's take another pill, and all of a sudden now you're living a life of addiction that you did not intend to have happen. The doctor didn't want it to happen, and you didn't want it to happen. So we built a business around pills are bad. I think everybody can agree there's a place for them, but if you can avoid them or take less of them by a wearable device, it would be it's a win for society. So people aren't diverting and selling their pills, and it's a win for you as a patient that maybe you never become addicted and you don't become that percentage. If you think about it, 5.6%, that's 1 in 18. You're an accountant, you know math as well as I do. 1 out of 18, and you're going to throw pills at people as the solution, and 1 out of 18 of every one of those people are going to walk away dependent. It doesn't matter if you get a kidney removed or a mole removed. The scope of the procedure and the amount of pain doesn't matter. It's the pill and what it does to your body. So the pendulum's come a long way from take the pills and stay out of the pain to there's a tremendous amount of education and outreach and within the orthopedic community. If a kid goes to get surgery, there are strict limits on how many pills they can and can't take. But a 30-year-old man may have never taken opioids, doesn't fall under those same restrictions as kids. So it's an interesting spot. So we've grown a business, founded in Western PA, from 2 guys with a side hustle to we're in 17 states, about 60 employees, actually 3 separate companies at this point, plus a charity that I'm excited to talk a little bit about all that today. But we've grown from being medical sales reps with a passion for a subject to doing our part every day to go out and fight the opioid crisis.
That's awesome. Thinking about that 5.8%, there's probably, I'm not a medical expert. We have a lot of clients are in the medical practice, but I can't imagine how any other scenario where they'd be okay with basically a 6% negative outcome.
No,
right?
You're a parent, right? Whenever your wife was going through pregnancy phase, they would take every other week. Your wife would go in and give blood, give urine, and they would run all kind of tests, and they're looking for 1 in 20 billion sort of genetic chromosome scenarios, right? That you can't even wrap your mind around how rare those things are, but they're looking for them and they're trying to treat for them. We're talking about 1 in 20, 1 in 18, and let's just keep doing it. And it's because the built-in mindset from the beginning that there was so much money spent to convince people that it was a less addictive, non-addictive. There were no problems. There's a documentary, a miniseries that's coming out. Batman is the main character, Michael Keaton, and he is the main character within the opioid crisis. They're doing a movie about it. Dope Sick. I just saw the preview about it today. Whoever put the trailer together for this thing, it's probably not a really action-packed 9-part series. It's probably going to be quite dry, but Michael Keaton's awesome. The trailer, the adrenaline I had from watching this trailer, the music and the score in the background, I felt like I was ready to go play high school football. And the subject matter, that's a walking, talking billboard for our company. I go on a sales call with that preview for that trailer. Hey doc, you need to watch this, right? You lived through this wave of medical device reps or pharma reps that came in and fed you these lies and this BS. We're the solution for that. Right place at the right time when really terrible things were happening, and personal loss and us thinking we can do something about it. Most businesses are built on there's a demand or a need, and you plug in the solution for it. And sadly, I don't think we're very close to being at the end of this solution. So I think our business is going to continue to grow and be around for quite some time.
So most businesses, like you said, are built on there being a demand or a need. But your business, there probably wasn't an awareness of that demand or need. Like you had to educate a lot of people.
There's a lot of education component to it. I remember talking to a doctor so I'm from the Beaver area, going to the hospital up at Beaver, talking to an orthopedic surgeon. And he said, Chaz, I know that hurts. I saw the x-ray. That's a broken arm. I repaired their ACL. I was in there. Right? I was in the operating room. I was in there. I know what I did to that person.
Right.
They're in pain, right? They need these pills. Well, what if there was another way to do something first before they turn to the pills, right? When they go to physical therapy, they're going to be introduced to this sort of thing, but it's 2 days a week, 15 days later, right? Why not? Let's try to introduce this for those 15 days at home. We'll deliver the device to their house so that the pill is the last thing, not the first thing. And they couldn't wrap their mind around this. They know it hurts. How do you know it hurts? Pain to me is different from pain to you, right? I might stub my toe in the dark and roll around on the ground and have to take off work the next day, and you could walk around with your thumb toe broken. That's no big deal because you're tougher than I am, right? You might have been a steel mill kid, and I might have been not a steel mill kid, right? So pain is subjective. It's different from me to you, right? Some people get a epidural injection whenever they're having kids. Maybe your wife did, maybe your wife didn't. Pain is different. Right. It's subjective, and so if you could give somebody an option to delay that need for the pill, why not? So there was a lot of education up front, and doctors are smarter than me. Doctors are smarter than you. They went to school for 12 years before they got a chance to even have their first day on the job, plus high school, and so they go through years of training and they learn about something. And so if they learned about something from 1996 through 2016, it's stuck in there. It's now muscle memory, and it's going to be a tough battle, and it has been. I'm not going to kid you. It has been a challenge, but in certain areas we've grown to 60-some employees. We've done a fair job, I would say. Everybody doesn't buy what we're selling. Right. Most people are nodding along at this point. There is still the insurance component. Are they going to pay for it? Who, when, and where, and why? Through the opioid crisis, the villains have been the pharma companies, the doctors, the pharmacists, and then the street drug dealers. The person or people who never get any of the bad rap are the people that are paying for the stuff, the insurance company. Where's their neglect or involvement? Right now, a bottle of Vicodin for 30 days is going to cost the insurance company $6. Right? So before it was big pharma getting fat, getting rich. Now it's shareholders at an insurance company. Do they want the insurance company to pay $6 for something for 30 days? Or do they want them to pay $800 for something that may prevent them from taking the $6? If you look at it apples to apples, they're going to pick $6 over $800 all day. Right. But what if that $6 turns into a life of addiction and treatment? Right. And so to educate insurance institutions on that, let's not have the first line, the person who reviews the prescription at the insurance company is not a medical professional. It's a call center type of a job. With certifications, yes, but degrees, no. And so they're looking at $6, $800. Right. I don't want to get yelled at by my boss for approving $800, so I'm going to approve $6, or I don't even need to approve $6. It's an auto approve. Right. And that's really where the villainy is right now. It's auto approved, $6. It's the opioid crisis. You're still approving Vicodin, Percocet, OxyContin. Are you kidding me? Right. So persuading insurance companies about the bigger picture, right? What happens if that 1 out of 18 people that get that $6 product now have a life of care? Right. I don't believe that some mathematician hasn't proved to them, stop paying for the $6 thing, make them jump through hoops of fire and hell before you pay for that $6 thing, because there's one in 18 chance that you're going to have a lifelong addict on your hands that you're going to have to keep paying for.
Yeah, it'd be easy for an actuary to prove that out. Yeah.
let's find the actuary that's going to do it now. That will help grow our business.
The problem is talking to an actuary. Mm-hmm. Sorry to the actuaries out there, but CPA, it's the only people CPAs can make fun of. To be more boring.
Yeah. So it's been a fun journey to become a business owner from a sales rep. Our interaction, how we know each other through our executive mastermind group, where we both pay the same person to teach us how to be better business owners. That's a pretty cool thing. Jeff was my manager whenever I was a salesperson. And as we were growing our business, this is a big plug for Jeff Hancher. So
he's on the podcast.
Free advertising for Jeff, the Champion Forum podcast. He was one of my early mentors in sales, and it's kind of like whenever you're a high school aged, you're an adolescent male, and your dad gives you advice, and you don't really always see it at the moment that you're there, and then what do you do with it when you're 25 and 35? You live and die by what your dad talked to you about. And so Jeff was my manager and mentor for 3 years, and 10 years removed from that, as I'm trying to build a company. Before I even worked again with Jeff, I'm saying things to my business partner. This is how Jeff would probably have done it, right? As we were teaching a young salesman how to do their job, this is probably what Jeff would have done, or Cintas for that matter would have done. So we have a pretty cool connection there. But growing the business from salesman to business owner, if there was two of us, we did sales, service, billing, accounts receivable, accounts payable, fitting, patient service, the whole gamut. Now we're branching out, and we've got a human resources person, we've got a human resources talent acquisition specialist, we've got an operation manager and an office manager and a sales force and a service department, and I own a medical laboratory as well. We didn't even talk about that. Maybe we won't, but it's been a really cool journey, building a business. I talked about what somebody would have asked me 10 years ago, what would I do if I hit the lottery? I would take a little bit of time to travel. I would probably buy a piece of property to go on vacation to, but I would have bought an excavator and dug ditches for fun. That's what my stepdad does. I would have coached football, and I would have gone hunting and fishing, right? And so now it's like, what would I do if I hit the lottery? Or if somebody wanted to buy my business, and that's like hitting the lottery, I would start another one. I really enjoy giving people jobs. It's cool. Providing a living for somebody, is whenever I'm doing the boring part of the job that isn't interacting with people, when I'm at home in my pajamas looking at the computer screen all day and doing moving parts for being a business owner, what keeps me going is the days like today where I get to go out and talk to people, and then the fact that I'm providing employment and a way of life for people. I think that's really cool.
That's great. So tell me about the process of going from you and your partner doing everything to having this team of 60 people. I find that's always the hardest. Jeff talks about all the time, going from working on your business to from in your business to on your business.
Yeah,
that's the place where a lot of people get tripped up.
There's no doubt, Dave, that was and is still the hardest part. We're both Joe and I were salespeople. We're very audible. We're best not whenever we're reading from a manual, but when we're in front of people, interacting and listening and learning and talking and trying to figure out how's the best way to solve that problem for you. We're not the best at documenting our efforts, strategizing it, taking the time, saving an hour, something that would take an hour every week for the rest of your life, quantify that, versus taking 10 hours now and writing it down and documenting it. When do you find the 10 hours so you don't have to do it for an hour a week forever? That is a tough battle to face, and for other business owners that are growing from that phase, trying your best to document or just whip out a video camera. There's so many apps nowadays where you can video yourself, talk about it, and then save it, so at least your knowledge base is there. And then you hire a transcriptionist. There are apps that can transcribe for you, and you can at least take it from your words. And there's overseas resources, where you could hire somebody from another country to type some things out. So the going from us doing it to other people doing it, we've had some great people that we brought on along the way that were able to listen and learn, and then hold themselves accountable to start documenting what they do. And so I'm very proud to have some of the team that I have that, it's like, I want to be the least smart person in the room, and I think I'm a pretty damn smart guy, right? And so that means I want to be surrounded by a lot of really smart people, Carnegie Mellon type people like yourself. And so it's there are also weaknesses that I have, that finding people that that fill that that yang to the yang, and so finding people that are willing and able to document things that are maybe the second person in has been very helpful. But there's no doubt, if you're a business owner and you're trying to grow, documenting your processes and procedures in any way, shape, or form that you can, because you never know what tomorrow brings. And maybe you're not able to show up at work tomorrow because you broke your leg, or worse, and so if it's not written, all the people that depend on you is over.
Right.
So very challenging. But then creating positions and job descriptions. What is this person actually going to do versus, hey, let's just get started and figure out what you do.
Right.
Not everybody wants to come to a job in which they're going to figure it out when they get there. So finding that sort of talent has also been a challenge. Not a challenge, but a rewarding situation to make sure that we have free thinkers and surrounding ourselves with people that are willing to say, I don't think that that's right. Even though you guys started this thing, you founded this thing, I don't think that you're right. Let's do it a different way. I'm going to come back at you. Let's prove it, but having people that will come to you with, I found this problem and I solved it. What do you think? Versus, I have this problem, please help.
Right.
I'll take section A. I'll take choice A all day.
Yeah. So backing up to the start, so you said that you and your partner went through kind of a shared experience, a parallel experience, I guess is probably more accurate. And then how did you get started from there? I know you said you kind of sold it on the side.
Yeah.
How did you find the product? Maybe tell us a little bit more about the product.
Sure. Yeah. So in the medical field, there's there's often the opportunity to, hey, while you're there, talk about representing multiple. The concept is called having a bag of products versus having a singular product. Some people are very good at singular products and not good at carrying the bag. Right, so it's a very common term in the medical space, carrying a bag of products for a big company that has 1,000 products. Right. So if you're in this space, there's opportunities to get propositioned to, hey, while you're there and you have a product, would you be interested in being a 1099 contractor and learning about our product and then plugging it into your existing relationships? And so there's a lot of that goes on. So the concept wasn't groundbreaking that Joe and I would think, what else could we do while we're here already?
Right.
We're not cheating on our main company because we're there already and it's a relationship that we have. And if we can bring more value to our customer, it locks in our initial product even more.
Right.
Okay. So it's very smart from a corporate perspective as well. So, the concept of what it is that we could bring to the table, looking at devices that you wear that cool your nerve, shock your nerve, compress your nerve. So when you take a pill, it affects your ear just like your ankle.
Right.
Whenever you're needing a knee procedure, if you find something that can only treat the knee is the only part that's going to be affected, right? And so it's like a pill is going to treat your knee, both knees, your ears and your feet. But if you wear something at the source, so that was our main concept, is how do we go from this pill society to something else where we're not surgical, What's between pills and surgical is wearable devices. And so finding devices that were covered by some insurance, primarily our biggest payer is work comp, auto insurance, and military. There's some Medicare coverage. Commercial insurance is very tough. I will be transparent. I hope there's no insurance people listening to this. The United Healthcares of the world, they've got medical guidelines and they want to pay for that pill. So anyway, we went on to the internet. You can go to, there's ways to do inbound searches for FDA approvals, and you type in diagnoses, if you know the diagnosis codes, which I don't, my business partner did, or generally what it does. I'd like to treat knee pain. Okay, so you can search, that's searchable within the FDA database, and you get an Excel list, and we did a reverse search by date of approval. So if something was approved in the 40s, we probably weren't looking at it. Right. And we found our stimulator product that way. So it's called the Micro Z. It is a Micro Z2, in fact. The Micro Z1 was used to treat diabetic wounds, right? Okay. And so the reason you get a wound whenever you're suffering from diabetes is your circulation starts to slow down. Your veins at your feet, your capillaries start to close up, because that's natural reaction for your body so that you can keep your blood here, right? You start shutting down at extremities, and so that's why diabetics are commonly getting their amputations, right? And so the device was used to treat wounds. How were they doing that if it wasn't a pill? It brought circulation back to life at that spot. So the company treated for 23 years, Prism Manufacturing treated diabetic wounds for 23 years, and then Medicare changed the code one day. What I mean by changed the code is stopped paying for the code. Right. And so this device that was doing buku sales basically got turned off overnight. They had to go to the drawing board, reapply for different FDA approvals. Pain, post-surgical pain, edema, which is swelling, right? And so we searched for that and happened to find a company that got approval within the last couple of months. That's interesting. They're new. Let's call them up. And we found their owner, Jim Johnson. We found them at a dark hour whenever they were just coming out of a hole. And so as a distributor, medical supply distributor, most of the time I can buy it, you can buy it, anybody can buy it, right? It's like a car dealer, it's like Chevy, right? There's a car dealership there, there's a car dealership there, and the Toyota guy in the middle can sell Chevys too, right? So it's kind of like you have to, you've got to navigate through other people with the same stuff. Well, we found the person at the right place at the right time to ask for exclusivity.
Wow.
Right? We're growing this business, here we are, and we're in these 6 states at this point with 1099 contracted sales reps that we have relationships with. And if you sell us this device, we'll promise to buy this many, and you tell anybody else that wants to buy this thing to take a hike. And we've built that business line with that relationship over the course of the last 4 years. Happily ever after, they're doing well, we're doing well. They've rebranded the product in a couple different ways to try to go back and sell it to the diabetic world from a cash pay perspective. They've got a physical fitness line that they do to try to sell it to people that are trying to get buff. We are interested in getting prescriptions from doctors and billing insurance. We don't want people to pay for the device, we want the insurance to pay for the device. And so that's our niche, that's our space. The compression therapy device, we represented one when we first started that we weren't able to get exclusivity, and it was the best game in town. And I was at a trade show 2 years ago before COVID and walking the floor and found a competitive looking device, and I'm thinking I've got the best, I've got the best, and I don't care that I don't have exclusivity with this thing. And let me try what, I explained who I was and what I was doing. This was the manufacturer, Zenith. Zenith is the name of the manufacturer. And so let me try on this thing called the Thermex. 3 seconds, I was, boom, this is better than what I have. Wow. How can I buy one? When can we get our hands on these, and how can we lock down territory? Same concept, caught them as they're new and blocked off turf, right? Committed to certain. We've got device, this is the best device in the industry, which is a big industry. Thermal compression therapy started with Game Ready, started with the ice bucket that like the kids drink out of the Gatorade thing at the sports thing. They had hang it up here, and it will drain cold water down into your wrap. This goes back 30 or 40 years. We've got the best device on the market, lockdown and exclusivity in several states, not all of them, and it's just been 2 great partnerships where we're providing our sales folks best-in-class equipment in a sea of sameness from time to time. Now, these devices that have been out there for a long time, they kind of ended up on the back shelf during this pill crisis, and only people were looking at them were physical therapists, because physical therapists can't write for pills. And so as we're now building this business up with these 2 cool devices, we're going to physical therapy offices now with the new game in town, the Thermex, the Micro Z2, and now we're backdooring our way into orthopedic surgeons. Hey, don't wait till they get to day 15 to go to the orthopedic or to the physical therapist. Write it so we can give it to them the day before the procedure. Treat that pain for those 15 days when people need it the most, so they don't go to the PT and they're already addicted. So that's how we found the devices and built it up. There's a lot more to the story, of course, but got lucky with finding some of the right people at the right times and forming good partnerships with people that wanted long term. They didn't want to just sell us a couple devices for a short shot in the arm. They wanted to commit to grow with us, and I think it's been a good partnership for both. And along the way, as the opioid crisis became a thing, government starts to push down on pills. I mentioned they crack down on the morphine equivalents. They start to arrest the doctors that were the pill mills. The bad actors started to go away. The supply of pharmaceutical grade opioids stopped being available at the on the street corner. Became harder, not gone completely, but became harder. As that happened, and you look at a chart, you'll see then heroin increased, right? The government gets their hands wrapped around the heroin problem, and it starts to go down. Now, during COVID, while everybody was stuck at home with their masks on, in their living room, the 30% incline in death by opioid went back up, and nobody's paying attention and talking about that. As that decline in pills and then the decline in heroin happens, we're looking at it from a business perspective, what's next? and we represented a toxicology laboratory, drug testing for those. So try to get people off pills, try to get people to never take pills, drug test people that are on the pills to make sure they're compliant. We were in that space. We represented a lab. We decided that we liked being business owners and we wanted to start our own lab, and we saw the pills, heroin, fentanyl, right? Fentanyl addiction, death by fentanyl, that documentary part 2 about the sublingual fentanyl spray. If, to get a, 3 months of a pill, it's about this big, right? So 30 days, 60 days, 90 days of Vicodin, Percocet, Oxycontin, whatever. We would be millionaires if we had this much fentanyl. Okay, maybe billionaires. We could cut it down. Wow. This is an easy product to smuggle across an open border scenario, or mail from China, FedEx. Yeah. So fentanyl is the next thing coming. So as we're helping people take less pills, testing people who are on pills, we decided to start our own laboratory. So Joe and I, 2 finance majors, medical sales reps. Also, now we own a toxicology lab. So we, it's like we stayed at a Holiday Inn Express. We decided to create something a little bit different and unique in a sea of sameness. We decided to buy the new best equipment. It's like an F-150, right? The F-250's got a little bit of a badder engine. The F-350 can tow a little bit more. The F-450, Plexico Burris drove around on the F-450, and then there's F-550 if you want to haul some heavy grade road equipment. But they're bigger, they're stronger, they can do more. They're a little slower, right? We decided we weren't going to buy the 3500. Literally, it's called the AB SciX 3500. We decided we weren't going to buy the AB SciX 4500. They just came out with this new thing called the AB SciX 5500, and then 5500 plus. And so we decided, you know what, we can be the same as everybody else and buy this $200,000 piece of lab equipment, rent a building, hire a lab director, hire some lab techs, and do our own thing just like everybody else. And we know enough people that probably support us. Or we can do something special and test for this new thing that's the big problem, fentanyl, because it's so small, right? As you look at a quarter, the year on the quarter, that the 0 in 2020, right? If we touch that, you would be dead, right? It's that potent, it's that strong. And so as we look at the next phase of the opioid crisis, we're looking at the fentanyl crisis. This is 2019. We decided to buy this equipment, go through the process to become M1 Labs, and lo and behold, last weekend it made national news. It was the first time it happened. There was an actor that died from heroin overdose in New York, Michael B. Williams. I'm blanking on his name, something Williams. There was a comedian who was at a party in Los Angeles. Him and 2 of his friends died of cocaine. Most people don't die from cocaine, right? You just bounce off the walls for, so I'm told, bounce off the walls for several days. It's like drinking a bunch of coffee or whatever. And they died. And why did they die? Their cocaine was laced with fentanyl. This guy died because his heroin was laced with fentanyl. The fentanyl pill spiking crisis, or the fentanyl drug spiking crisis, is upon us. You'll start to see news stories about it, and a year from now, it will be the thing that everybody's talking about. And people will never, unless they're looking to die, they will never buy drugs from a street drug dealer ever again. Their states will start legalizing things like medical marijuana, because if you buy marijuana from your street dealer, maybe they sprinkled fentanyl on it to get you higher, right? And so as the legalities of things happen, you'll start to see a loosening of legalities so you can buy it from a regulated place, because the street drug dealer is going to kill you.
Right.
That's next. We kind of saw it coming, and lo and behold, we found a medical patient in the South Hills of Pittsburgh last week that tested positive for a few things, including cocaine and acetylfentanyl, which is one of the smaller, stronger versions of fentanyl, and he was opioid tolerant. His drug dealer is selling cocaine with acetylfentanyl in it, and we were able to tell his doctor to tell him. Doctors that find things in there, they don't send them to jail. Right. They become doctors and treat them. Right. We were potentially able, maybe we didn't save that guy's life, but maybe he decided to buy drugs and bring his cousin in on the situation. We probably saved a lot of people's lives, because now that guy's going to go tell his drug dealer that you're drugs are laced with acetylfentanyl. It's
Right.
really an interesting concept.
Yeah.
And so that phase of our business is really about we just got our final licensure from the government to do this testing. We could do it, but to really go mainstream with it, we got our COLA accreditation. So now I own a medical equipment company, a medical laboratory, and we're just really, we got a passion for the subject. Pills are bad, opioids are bad, and we're doing a few things about it.
Yeah, your story is incredible. I'm amazed at the passion that you bring with, a lot of times people when they have passion, they just go 100 miles an hour without thinking and just work on it. But what I see you doing is you're saying, I have this passion, I know what the end result needs to be, how am I going to get there, and how am I going to do it differently from everybody else, because what we're doing now isn't working. So I just love hearing you talk about how important this is to you, because you've been through it. My wife and I both have experience with it, with friends and family. Everybody knows somebody that's passed away from an overdose of some kind. So I appreciate what you're doing in this space and the passion you have for it and the way you're approaching it. Not only from the business standpoint, which you're doing an awesome job with it, but really from the humanity standpoint. A few things you mentioned that stuck out to me were the CSA-ness and standing out from what everybody else is doing. So you talked about buying the better equipment, and your ability to see kind of around the corner between you and your partner is commendable. What happens is, we talked earlier about working in the business instead of on the business. If you're not able to take that step back, you're not going to see what's coming up.
Right.
You're going to be seeing the paper that's in front of you and the 5 things you need to do today. So how do you get these insights? What are you doing to see around the corner? Obviously, you've got 60 people working for you. You're probably still doing some stuff in the business because you're a business owner, but what are you doing to allow you to be predictive about what's coming?
There's a little bit to do with, my business partner and I don't live in the same town, didn't grow up together, and while our passions are the same, college athletics, medical sales, we've done some of the predictive indexing sort of tests. We're very different people. So we do very much bring a yin to the yang. Sometimes we see things differently and we get in arguments, right? But because we're very different from that perspective, it's like I want to be the less smart person in the room, right? I have, what I believe to be a smarter, better business owner as a partner, and I'm equal partners with somebody that I think is better than me, And so there's that first and foremost. I have a wingman.
Yeah.
Secondly, we're very connected to participating in doctors' continuing education events. Pennsylvania Orthopedic Society, Pennsylvania Pain Society, Michigan Orthopedic Society, right as we're starting Michigan Pain Society, National American Physical Therapy Association. So we're plugged into that. We set up a booth at those things, right? We're at, we do a conference whenever it was the two of us. It's like a running joke with the folks that work at the Pennsylvania Orthopedic Society. It's like, oh, you're the pain guys that are always the same two guys at the booth, or the pills are bad guys that are always at the booth. And it's like, it was just two of us, and we're renting a booth next to a $6 billion company that has a couple of employees that are like 80th down the corporate ladder. So, are they there because it's their job, or are they there because they're passionate about it? It's certainly not there because it's their dollars, right? And so we're there because we have $6,000 in the bank and we spent $3,000 on a booth, at the beginning. And if it's half of the things that we have, we're going to get our money's worth. So we paid attention. We asked a lot of questions. We were looking for creative ideas, and so we're hearing things. What's next? Where are we going? What are your challenges? What are your buying motives? What is the national organization saying? So two talented people that have different backgrounds, spending our own dollars in an educational conference capacity, and then getting on the mailing list to really see what it is that they've got going. And most people in the medical field aren't reading those journals, it's boring stuff, aren't, maybe we're just looking at headlines and like catching something that's applicable versus reading the whole thing. Signed up for some scientific journals as well. Again, headline reading until there's something that's applicable. And then current events, paying attention. LinkedIn is really a big thing for keeping an eye on your industry events. But we have the best equipment. We have the things that are ahead of the curve. But the story on why we're doing it is, I probably made 10, 20, 30 connections in a sales capacity. We didn't even bring the product out of the bag. We talked about my friend died, your friend died.
Right.
Let's figure it out together. We can solve this thing. We're going to help. We're going to make it easy for you, right? So there's a lot of that, but keeping an eye on trends and current events, talking to people, being curious. I feel like I want to learn something new all the time, and reading a book, maybe reading a newspaper, maybe picking your brain, maybe all a combination of all those things. But the biggest takeaway is that I've got an impressive business partner that is doing the same sort of thing. Right. So not everybody has that. You're a sole proprietor or S corp, what have you, but this is your deal. And so having that wingman, that spotter, it's just like lifting weights. You're down there in the basement by yourself, you're probably going to plateau, but you got somebody that's going to keep that bar from choking you out. You might get a little bit more testy, and then have some growth from there. But I hope that answers your question. Yeah. There's a lot of luck. The right place, the right time when bad things happen. I've said that over and over again, and it's probably the biggest piece of the pie right there, Dave. That, had a passion for whenever something really went south.
Yeah, I mean, passion kind of overrides everything. So your why is unbeatable, right? Like you weren't gonna fail at this because of how important it was to you.
Yeah, so the loss of my friend, coupled with the fact I didn't mention that Joe and I are family men. That we have 9 kids between the two of us, and the loss, tragic, was like, we can do something about this, and it wasn't, we're not going to bring somebody back that's not with us anymore. In their memory, yes, why at the beginning, but to, prevent our kids from going down that path, or prevent their friends from going down this path, and then have to live with that pain. And so, that more than anything, like the Papa Bear, that's also a big chunk of the equation. Also, how we came up with the name of our company. So people were like, at the beginning, hopefully you're still tuning in, what is Match One Medical and where did we come up with it? It is an acronym for all of our kids' names. There's a T and a J. So MATJ, CHONE, Madison, Abby, Tyler, Jackson, Charlie, Henry, Olivia, Natalie, Estelle. That's the Match One kids, awesome. Right? And so there's a whole lot of that going on. My son, ended up blowing out his knee as a freshman in football. Had to go to AHN to get a procedure. I give a plug to AHN because they're great, and because they did the surgery on Tyler. And we went. I was put in a position to buy what I was selling.
Right.
It was the hardest day of my marriage. Okay. The doctor knew what I did. PA knew what I did. I had to sign the waivers that I wasn't going to allow my son to take so many opioids, and I said, I'm not going to take any opioids, right? And the discharge nurse, she was of the age that she was on the moonlight of her career, and so she clearly spent 30 years working in the take your pills and stay out of the pain. As we're getting discharged after the procedure, it's all done. He made it. It was a success. Everybody's like, it was best case scenario. Anesthesia is a scary thing. When you go to sleep, some people won't wake up.
I've had surgery, so I know the rest. Yeah.
So he's coming out, and we're getting ready to check out, and they gave us a prescription for this 800 Advil, right? It's not really 800 ibuprofen, so 4 Advils in 1 pill.
Right.
Okay, right. That's okay. The discharge nurse, Patty, that was really her name. So Patty says, "Did you get your scripts?" "Yeah, I got my script." And she looked at it. This is only ibuprofen. Where's the Vicodin or the Percocet? Are you allergic? No. I'm sorry, Patty. We've already covered this. This is 10 seconds what I do, and I've already covered this with the doc and with the PA. And you think you're really smart, don't you? She looks at my wife and says, honey, your baby here, 15 at the time, your baby is going to wake up tonight around 10 o'clock. This this block's going to wear off, and he's going to be screaming, crying for his mom, and you're going to be able to do nothing other than rub his head because your husband thinks he knows more than the medical community. Are you sure you don't want any of these pills? I compromised and said, write the script for 2, and I'm going to put them in the safe, and I'm in charge of them. Those 2 pills are probably still in the safe, or maybe I threw them away. Tyler made it through the experience, and my wife was looking over my shoulder the whole time, right? 'Cause she loves her kid, and somebody was telling her that that this was going to be bad, and so she trusted me enough to allow me to continue to be in charge of the situation, but to make sure that we had this break glass in case of emergency scenario there. I'm very happy to report that we're 2 years removed from the surgery, and Tyler's still opioid naive, right? And
awesome.
So he hasn't been exposed to something that 5.6% chance. He could have gone down the same path as my friend,
Right.
and who Tyler reminds me very much of him. They're similar football players. They're similar attitudes. It was just like my friend who passed. He was the best of us all. So I put my money where my mouth was and became a parent of a patient. So I'm very passionate about this stuff, even more as a result of that.
Right.
And the fact that lady tried to call me out like that,
Bully you, really.
it was really out of line.
Yeah, I think it's tough when, like you said, like she's been in it for probably 30 years and knows one way to do it. So we talked before about the education. And I think you said it, like there are some people that are never going to be on board with what you're doing because they've seen in their eyes, and it's probably clockwork, like she said, like at 10 o'clock he probably did have more pain than what he was before, but having a solution that's different.
Both devices wrapped up on his knee for the first 6 days. He didn't take them off. At night, while I was asleep, during the day, I was hovering over, making sure he was was well, making sure the machines were working. I was very, very willing to give him the Advil, and at one point he was like, "Dad, I'm fine. I don't need it." So the stuff does work. I'm very happy to report it from personal experience. Now we use the devices all the time on ourselves. I've hurt my back, I hurt my neck, I hurt my ankle, right? So that helping kids side of things is what led us to starting a charity. Right, and so if we have the time,
that was my next thing. Why don't you tell us about the charity?
Yeah, so COVID happens, right? It affected everybody in a lot of different ways. At the beginning, for everybody, it was equally scary for everybody in the world. Some people, the path went this way into the good things, and some people went into the bad things, and I feel sorry for that path. Our path, from a business standpoint, took about 4 weeks to figure it out, but the talk track on how it was that we're medical providers, so we got the waiver from Pennsylvania, so we were able to stay in business. But to continue to talk to people was a challenge, and so it's like, let's come back and see us whenever this is over. It was we're providing equipment at home healthcare, so people are stuck at home right now more than ever. They need us, so let's just do a Zoom meeting and talk about this, and then we'll FedEx it to the patient. We'll stay on the front. We'll be on the front porch. We figured it out, and we grew during COVID. Started to connect with physical therapy crowd a little bit more and talk about who just had their surgery and got stuck at home. So we helped so many people that were stuck at home that just had their procedure that wouldn't have otherwise received our care, and we probably doubled at that point. So the first week of COVID shutdowns, so it was like March 17th. They decide that elective procedures are done. Elective procedures are mainly what we treat. ACL repair, MCL, all the things that whenever you get hurt and you watch the Steelers game and you're like, oh God, that means he's not going to play this year again. Rotator cuffs, elbow, Tommy John, all that business, right? That's our wheelhouse. And so all of that got postponed. So any kid that got hurt in wrestling last winter, 2 winters ago now, their procedure was going to get pushed off until whenever, right? And what happens whenever, like, you can live without your ACL, you can live without your rotator cuff. It is, it's just the muscles around that are going to get weak, atrophy sets in, and then it's going to be harder to do this eventually once they fix you. You can live without doing that. So, hey, let's give some equipment to some kids. I knew 3 kids that were about to have ACL surgeries that got shut down. So I thought, hey, let's go to the WPIAL. I know somebody on the higher ups there. put a press release out. I'm going to donate 100 pieces of equipment to kids that got postponed surgeries. Give them my phone number. You don't have to do anything other than release the press release. Red tape, red flags, compliance, like all kind of stuff, right? So they said, give it all to a charity, and then the charity can give it to us, and we'll do it exactly what you thought you wanted to do. Well, again, we started our own business. We started our own lab. I'm gonna just give this away to a charity that then I'm gonna have to educate them, and there's a middleman. This is silly. We decided, you know what? I bought this Charity for Dummies book. I'm gonna figure it out. So in December 2020, we started the American Foundation for Opioid Alternatives. Our 3 causes are providing injured student athletes, underinsured injured student athletes access to alternative to opioid therapy, providing recovering drug addicts that are underinsured access to alternative to opioid therapy. People that are recovering drug addicts are always recovering for the rest of their life, and they probably choose to not get a rotator cuff repair because they don't want to fall off the wagon. So they'll live without doing this for the rest of their life. They'll be stuck here so they don't have to get reintroduced to the pills.
Right.
We've helped a lot of people in that capacity. So providing underinsured recovering addicts access to that care, and then providing funding for clinical research studies. Fast forward a little bit, partnered with AHN. We gave away 40 devices to 40 high schools in Western Pennsylvania in the spring, and 40 setback for the next 40 kids that need surgery. So we were able to do it.
Awesome.
Only 1/3 of the Whitfield schools have access to this because AHN has 1/3 of their schools, but amazing partnership. We're helping a lot of kids, and getting a charity started off the ground by donating equipment through our private entity to help people and bring notoriety to the situation so that maybe dollars will come back into this cause eventually, that we can do a lot of things for a lot of people that we can't even fathom right now. So it's been cool. Donated some equipment to West Virginia University last week. It's our second donation. We're providing devices for to do a study for cancer-caused neuropathy to see if our devices will help them take less opioids. So it's a new space. Very cool. And partnering with the 2 of the 3 medical institutions that are right in town. I don't believe that in a 1-year span, this new charity and our company is doing good work with 2 of the 3 major institutions. 3 of the big building university educational hospital systems are partnered with the American Foundation for Opioid Alternatives. So it's an immediate success, and where that's going to lead to, I think that'll eventually become bigger than even our private entities. So I'm excited about being part of that.
Yeah, your story is amazing. Just the empathy you have for people. I mean, especially people that generally don't get any empathy. I mean, most people don't think about the why behind someone becomes addicted to opioids. They just see someone that's doing things they shouldn't do and judging them. And the heart that you have for that is amazing. And then the zeal you attack it with.
I had a real chip on my shoulder for people that did drugs as a kid for a few reasons. So recreational drugs and me have always been on opposite sides of the street, and I had very much a lack of empathy until learning about the fact that the person who's using heroin today wasn't the kid who was smoking weed behind the bleachers on Friday night, who I had problems with. He was the kid who was starring on the field on Friday night that got hurt, went to see a doctor, got fixed, and still got his scholarship, and maybe would have been better off than not. That then turned to the street once it hit the fan. It really changed my mindset on that 180, and to give me a perspective that was so different from where I used to feel about not all drug addiction is the same, and how did you get to where you are, to examine the past to see where the future is. I have, that's a big number, and it hit me on multiple occasions in a very personal way, with more than just the one, right? It's not just the one story. We all, it's you look at the 1996 Blackhawk Cougar. We played in the state championship game that year, and it's like 3 people that I know of aren't with us anymore that that went down, that were on that same train.
Yeah.
And it's terrible. So I have a different perspective, and the empathy that you were pointing out, it's 100% different from me 20 years ago with this exact same issue. I'm educated and aware, and I have changed because I've learned.
I feel like I don't know, burden's the word that comes to me, but like you can't look at it and not do something about it. That's why you have how many companies you have in a nonprofit. Like you've got a taste of helping these people, and now you can't stop. And like that's why you're successful financially as well as with helping people. Like you're not doing it for the money.
Mm-hmm.
But the money's a nice side effect, and we say that all the time. But like in this instance, like what you're doing is
if I get more of it, I invest it back in.
Right.
What's the next thing we'll start? That's very much that's where it's going to continue to go.
Yeah.
I am enjoying it. Again, the monotony sometimes of the sitting behind a computer all day, helping work on the business, in the business, not on it. That is tough, and that's frustrating.
Yeah.
And people in my life learn some boundaries about when I'm not, when I have to have the Thursday conference call day. Don't bother me on Thursday at 6 o'clock because I'm just like drained from looking at a Zoom screen all day. But it's awesome. I'm blessed. I got an awesome group of teammates. Got an awesome business partner. My wife, my family, my kids. They're amazing. Still have parents, 3 because I'm fortunate to have 2 dads because my mom was divorced when I was a kid. So what could have been an ugly, divorce is tough for some people. It was tough for me, and then it was great for me. And so I've got a lot of cool things going, and I'm very happy with where I am, and I'm thankful to share the story with you today, Dave.
I appreciate it.
And hopefully this awareness will help some people that are watching, and help somebody navigate the waters a little better.
Great.
Awareness is the big thing.
Yeah,
if you're a parent and your kid's about to have orthopedic surgery, anything you can do to make pills the last resort, you should do. Talk to your doctor.
Yeah. Great. Thanks, Chad. I really enjoyed that. Appreciate it. So that is an incredible episode of the Businesses Start Here podcast. Chad's story was just great. We want your feedback, so please comment on this video and the podcast. Let us know if there's anybody you think we should interview, and just share it with as many people as possible, especially this episode. We want to get this out. It's something that affects everybody. Like I said, it affects Chaz significantly, it affects me significantly, so we want to see this stop. So thank you, everybody, and we'll talk to you next time.
Thanks for listening to the Businesses Start Here podcast. We hope you were inspired and encouraged by today's podcast. We would love to hear your feedback. Please send us an email at podcast@vilioti.com. That's podcast@VILLIOTTI.com. And be sure to share, like, and comment all of our content.